Every single month, Chris parks his shiny, midnight blue sports car 2 blocks away from his apartment. He doesn't do it to protect the paint, and he doesn't do it for exercise. He does it because he is completely ashamed to let his neighbors see him driving a $40,000 machine while knowing he has exactly $12 left in his savings account. At 23, Chris signed a single contract that felt like the ultimate victory. He had just landed his first corporate job making $55,000 a year, and he wanted the world to see his success. The dealer smiled, patted him on the back, and promised him that a $650 monthly payment was a small price to pay for a dream. But by age 28, the excitement has completely vanished. Today, that car is a rolling financial prison cell that has cost Chris over $100,000 in missed opportunities, trapped him in a toxic career he hates, and left him miles behind his peers. Welcome to Capital Chris, where we expose the hidden psychological traps designed to keep you looking rich while ensuring you stay mathematically broke. If you are ready to stop trading your freedom for status symbols, hit that subscribe button right now to join a community building real wealth. Let's look at the brutal math that ruined Chris's life. To understand how Chris ruined his finances, we have to look at the illusion of affordability. Like millions of young people, Chris fell into the single biggest trap in personal finance: budgeting by the monthly payment instead of the total cost. Chris thought his car cost $650 a month. But a car does not just require a loan payment to exist. The moment Chris registered the vehicle, the hidden monsters of car ownership woke up. Because Chris was a 23-year-old male driving a high-performance sports car, the insurance company flagged him as a massive liability. His insurance premium came out to an astonishing $200 every single month. Then came the premium fuel, costing another $150 a month, followed by routine maintenance, high-end tires, and annual registration fees. When you actually map out Chris's bank account, he wasn't spending $650 a month on his dream car. He was bleeding an absolute minimum of $1,000 every single month just to park that piece of metal outside his apartment. That was nearly 30% of his take-home pay completely vanishing before he even bought groceries or paid his rent. Chris was working 40 hours a week, but the first week and a half of every single month was dedicated entirely to funding a depreciating asset. This brings us to the concept that separates the wealthy from the permanently broke: opportunity cost. The tragedy of Chris's story isn't just the $12,000 a year he was spending on his car. The real tragedy is what that $12,000 could have been doing for him if it wasn't trapped inside a machine that was actively losing value. Let's look at a parallel universe where Chris made a different choice. Imagine 23-year-old Chris swallowed his pride, ignored what his friends would think, and bought a reliable 7-year-old used sedan for $5,000 cash. He didn't have a cool exhaust note or a shiny badge, but his insurance was low, his gas was cheap, and he had 0 monthly payments. Now, imagine Chris took that exact same $1,000 a month he was burning on the sports car and automatically invested it into a broad market S&P 500 index fund inside a tax-advantaged account. Over the next 5 years, while real-world Chris was stressing over his monthly bills, investment universe Chris was quietly letting the miracle of compound interest do the heavy lifting. Historically, the stock market returns an average of roughly 10% per year. By the time Chris hit his 28th birthday, his investment account would have ballooned to nearly $77,000 in cold, hard, liquid cash. Meanwhile, let's look at what happened to the real-world Chris at 28. After 5 long years of making payments, Chris looked up the current market value of his beloved sports car. To his absolute horror, the car had depreciated by over 50%. The $40,000 vehicle was now worth barely $18,000. Chris had poured $60,000 of his hard-earned salary directly into this vehicle, only to end up with an asset worth a fraction of that amount. He didn't just lose $42,000 in depreciation, he lost the $77,000 he could have built in the stock market. That is a total net worth swing of nearly $120,000, all for the temporary rush of driving a cool car in his early 20s. But the damage wasn't just financial, it became deeply personal. At 28, Chris's life circumstances changed. He met someone, started thinking about settling down, and wanted to buy a house. But when he walked into a bank to get a mortgage, the loan officer took one look at his debt-to-income ratio and shook their head. Chris's massive car debt made him look like a massive risk, and he was denied the loan. Worse yet, Chris's corporate job had become completely toxic. He woke up every single morning with a knot of anxiety in his stomach, desperately wanting to quit, take a pay cut, and pivot into a career he actually cared about. But Chris couldn't quit. He couldn't take a risk. He couldn't go a single month without a paycheck because that $1,000 monthly car obligation was always waiting for him. The sports car had officially transitioned from a symbol of freedom into a financial prison cell. Chris was completely stuck, forced to endure a miserable job just to maintain the lifestyle machine he bought to impress people he didn't even like. Chris's story is not unique. It is the exact script being played out by millions of young adults across the world right now. Society tells you that the moment you get a corporate salary, you need to look the part. The system rewards you for looking rich while ensuring you stay mathematically poor. If you want to avoid becoming Chris, you have to memorize a simple rule. Buy your assets before you buy your liabilities. Use your early 20s to buy things that pay you, like investments, stocks, or real estate. Once those investments grow large enough to generate their own passive cash flow, you can use that money to buy your dream car. True wealth isn't about the badge on your steering wheel or the look on your neighbors' faces when you pull into the driveway. True wealth is the freedom to walk away from a toxic job, the ability to buy a home when you're ready, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing your money is working hard for you, rather than you working yourself to death for your money. Don't let a dealership salesman dictate the trajectory of your financial future. If you found value in Chris's story, join the Capital Chris community by subscribing, and let's build real wealth together. Learn from Chris, look at the total cost, and build a foundation that sets you free.